Hey lovely people of YouTube, today we're going to talk about why women usually want to have less sex than men. Stay tuned for this great interesting video. Alright, if you've been in a long-term relationship, you probably have experienced this before where you feel like your wife doesn't want to have as much sex as you. And I don't want to make it general because of course there's women who have a very strong sex drive and there's men who actually have no sex drive at all. I'm talking as a general rule from my experience, from talking to many men and many women throughout my life. It seems like it's always men who are trying to get the girl, or they're trying to get the girl to bed and convince her to have sex. And that's a bit a sensation that many men have, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay, because it's actually very easy to explain. There's two things why this happens, and the first one is physical, and the second one it's emotional. So let me start with the physical one, which is very objective, very clear. Okay, men, we segregate, we create semen that builds up in our testicles and our prostate glands. Now, this fluid builds up and it needs to be released at some time. It needs to be released. It cannot stay there for long because it just keeps going. It just keeps continues to go on and on and on. So that fluid needs to be released. So that's why we need to have sex. We go 1 week, 2 weeks without having sex, and it feels like we need to actually release it somehow. And actually, when boys are very young and they don't masturbate, it comes to a point where at night maybe they actually ejaculate because it just needs to go out. So women don't have that problem. Women don't build up any fluids that don't need to be released. Actually, I've met women who have gone for weeks, months, even years actually without having sex because they actually don't need it. They don't need to actually have the orgasm to release any type of fluid. All right. So that's the physical part, which is very obvious, very clear, very objective. There's nothing, it's just that. All right. The second part is emotional, and that's the most difficult one, or the most complicated one. So there's two things about the emotional side. The first one is that women work on a cycle, and their body works on a cycle, and they have the period. As we all know, they have a period every 28 days, and this means that the hormones, they really go on a like up and down, and it's really it really affects their moods. It affects their desire to have sex. It affects a lot of things in their life. Actually, you can feel that a woman, there's times of the month where they don't want to do anything. They want to sit down. Especially when they have the period, then suddenly they really are like into themselves. When they're ovulating, they just want to have sex all the time. They come to a point where the creativity sinks in, and it's a circle that goes around and around and around every single month. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a fact. And if you're a man watching this and you're trying to fight that, you're in trouble. You need to understand that women work on a cycle. And there's times where they want to have sex more than others. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you need to understand that. Also, women need to understand that the men work on a completely different way. We are completely linear. We don't have these hormones, and we don't have these ups and downs. We are all the time the same. And when we want to have sex, and we want to have sex every time of the month, we don't have a period. We don't have a cycle, so it doesn't affect us like you have. So this is why communication between man and woman is so important, and that's why we need to understand each other in terms to really have a good sexual life, because we are not made equal in those terms. We have the same rights in everything else, but in terms of physical and sexual ways, we have different cycles, we have different ways of actually addressing this issue. All right. So the second part of the emotional side. I'm gonna show you also here with some pictures, because it's important it's just some diagrams. It's gonna help you actually visualize what I'm trying to say. So the first thing is that men are completely linear, and we're completely linear not only in terms of our hormones, but we are completely linear in terms of our sexual desire. So I'm gonna jump in the computer here. Okay, if you see here, this is a linear model that Dr. Kaplan established in 1979, and this is how male sexuality works. Okay, when a man has a sexual desire, it works like this: we have sexual desire, we get excited, and we have the orgasm. We have sex and we have the orgasm, and that's it. And we can do that every single time, one after the other. We just, it just goes like that. Once we have the orgasm, we're finished, we're satisfied, finished, nothing else happens. And we can come again back here and have a sexual desire the next 2 hours or the next days or whatever. All right? That's how the male works in terms of sexuality. All right, let me explain you how women work. Women work in the nonlinear model, and that means this. I'm going to explain you this circle in a minute. When a man, we're linear. We get sexually excited in a situation, whatever situation we get excited. A woman comes in the room, our wife comes in the room, and she's naked and we're willing to have sex. We're going to have sex immediately. We want it. We get excited automatically. It doesn't matter the context. We are completely different in that way. Women, they need to be sexually stimulated in the right context. They need to have some confidence with the person they're having sex. Men, we are a bit different in that as well. They need to know this person. They need to feel confident with this person. A woman, if her mind is not there, she will not get excited so easily. She needs to be in a context where sex can happen. All right, if that comes across. Okay, sex can happen where there's no stress, there's no other things going on that can, make her mind wander. Okay, so sexual stimulation must be done in the right situation. That means if we're gonna start touching her, kissing her, we need to know that the situation is the correct one. All right. So what's gonna happen when we start to stimulate her sexually? Her subjective sexual excitement will happen. What is that subjective sexual excitement? That means that her mind is gonna say, okay, I'm getting sexually excited. This happens automatically, okay? But she's gonna start, her mind is gonna trigger and it's gonna say, okay, wow, yes, I like this. Kissing, touching, whatever happens, it can be visual as well, whatever, is gonna trigger her mind and she's gonna start to get excited, all right? That's gonna trigger her sexual desire and excitement. She's gonna start to actually want to have sex. She's gonna respond to that stimulation and she's gonna start to get excited and start to get wet, all right? And she's going to be willing to have sex. Now, when a woman is having sex, there's an emotional part and a physical satisfaction that needs to be satisfied, all right? With or without orgasm. Actually, a woman can actually be very, they can feel a strong attachment to a man, even if they don't have the orgasm, because there's an emotional side that really, they feel good about being with that man. They feel emotionally satisfied, they feel emotionally attached to that person. And even though if physically they might not have the orgasm that time or whatever, it doesn't matter really, because she's going to be feeling emotionally attached. That doesn't mean that you don't have to give orgasms to your woman. You have to. A woman needs to be satisfied in bed as well. But I'm talking about how the female mind works in terms of sex, and that's so much so, and I've seen it so many times. All right. Now this is the most important part here, and that's the emotional intimacy. If a woman has all of these, and she feels that this man doesn't care for her, and I'm not saying love, because ideally he should love her. But if he doesn't care, if he doesn't care for their needs, and if he doesn't really hold her after they have sex, and really there's no emotional intimacy with that person, she just have sex and leave her there like I used you and you're. This here will not happen again with that girl. All right. If you do all of this and there's no emotional intimacy, this will not come again. And if you're in a long-term relationship, same thing, all right? If you are not taking care of that emotional side, a woman is not going to be willing to have this, because this is a circle that has to be closed every single time, all right? So this is how the female mind works and the male mind works in terms of sex. What does this mean? This sounds a bit too complicated, and this is, I'm talking about how things work inside of us. Sometimes we don't even notice that these things happen to us. And what does this mean? This means that we are not going to have sex, that this is too complicated? No. Actually, even a woman has a cycle, and they are times of the month they don't want to have sex, and there are times where they want to have more sex. There's ways to actually have enough sex that both are satisfied. And that's by playing games and working on it. Because if you want to really have a good sexual life and you want to have your woman to have sex, if you do it right, if you do the right things, if you know how to trigger her mind, to want to have sex, how to trigger the situations with foreplay, with dirty talk, with sex games that you can actually play, fantasies you can actually do. I'll leave a video up there for fantasies that you can actually do as well, suggestions. Then things will happen, and sex is going to happen. Especially if you're in a long-term relationship, you need to work on it. If you don't work on it, it's going to be difficult, because you're gonna come into this routine, and this cycle will stop to happen. All right. So I just wanted to share with you this information, because many times we are actually worried about this, and we get angry at our woman because she doesn't want to have sex, and we have all these disputes, and this actually creates a lot of conflict, and sometimes even divorce, and sometimes even breakups, which makes no sense, because we need to understand each other. We need to understand that men, in terms of sex, we have a different way of working our mind and our body, and the same thing happens with women. And we need to get together, and we need to find a way that we are both satisfied, and that we both have great sex and a great sexual life. So, well, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it, despite this was a bit too theoretical here in some parts. 2 thumbs up if you like this video. Like I always say, subscribe to my channel to receive more videos like this. Don't forget to click on the link that you see right here below. You get access to a lot of sexual information, a lot of sexual videos and courses where you learn much more about sex, sexual life, and sexuality. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.